And we're back. And I love that I'm just recording this right after the last one. But we're moving on to number two. We talked about recognizing, and we talked about recognizing my poor spelling, but we talked about recognizing the fact that I am not totally whole and that I want to work on that. And then we're going to call number two getting help, because that is so important. This is not easy for me, and I'm getting better at it. I'm also noticing that it's not easy for a lot of people. Um, but there's just a fact here that we have to deal with, and that is culturally, especially for men, we have this idea that's been reinforced that we have to do things ourselves, that we have to go it alone and be a lone wolf and, kind of make yourself into a man. And I think that's at odds with a biological reality of humans and how, as a social species, we actually don't operate very well as individuals. Like, we do all right, but our survival as a species over hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years, over millions of years, the survival of the species was dependent on us working together. And there was no such thing as a lone wolf human. If you were alone, that meant you were fucked. And that means all of our psychology, all of our biology is just tuned to working together and having help. And that you were never having to deal with your problems alone. You always had help. So getting help is just an incredibly important process that we need to do, and it's a psychological process. Feeling like getting to the point where you feel like you deserve help and that you're worthy of that help. That's something that I'm working on because it doesn't come naturally to me. I have to kind of go through a process of identifying and really acknowledging that I have self-worth that justifies getting other people to do things for me. So getting help. And how am I doing that? Well, I'm leaning more on friends, asking them for help, acknowledging, telling them what I'm doing and how I might need their assistance. Family. Same thing, just trying to be upfront about it and seeing, okay, here are some resources of mine. How can I use them? Who here in my social network can and wants to help me? And the funny thing is, in general, they all want to help. And that can be a hard thing to get yourself to accept. You kind of think that you'll be inconveniencing them. But I try and remind myself, if any of my friends or anybody in my orbit, it sounds like a very egotistical way of putting it, but anyway, anyone in my orbit, I would be so glad, so honored if they asked me for help. And so I just try and keep that in mind, and that by asking them for help, I'm honoring them and I'm honoring their value as a friend or a family member. Next one, and this is actually another really important one. These aren't in any particular order. Would be professional help. And, oops. So in this case, for me, unfortunately, this means money. But if you do have the resources for any professional help, um, I've tried a couple coaches now, and I'm working with I'm working with a coach at the moment who really, I think, understands the process that I'm going through, and this is just what he does. And um, no matter who you end up working with, it could be a therapist or a coach or whatever. It's if you find the right people for it, and that's a hard one, but if you find the right people for it, it's so worth the money. It's you're putting your own development on a really high level when you start shelling out dough for it, and you're like, okay, I'm taking it seriously now, and I'm not fucking around, and I want to do this, and you're telling not just this professional person, you're telling yourself that I am worth spending money on. In this case, my development, my growth is worth it's worth everything, because that's what your life is. Your life is based on you and your abilities, and that is your development. And if you're Swiss cheese over here, then your life is not going to um, it's just not going to be as you want it to be as much as you would like it to be. I know words and I can use them well. Okay. So getting help, that's the big thing. It's just you need you can be so much more with help. So if you're looking to be more, if you're looking to achieve more or live a life that is more satisfying to you, you get it with help. And if you tried to do it without help, you would not go as far. That's what I'm working with, and that's what I'm the mindset that I'm trying to reinforce for myself. Okay, that's number 2, and see you tomorrow for number 3.